Rener Gracie.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, brother. Appreciate it. Honored to be here, you guys. I was out here a few months ago, and we had a great time, so I'm honored to be back with my man right here, Brian T-City Ortega. Some of you recognize him. You don't know where from. He's an undefeated UFC fighter. He's as dangerous as he is pretty, so just put it that way. Like, it's very real.
Yeah.
So we're here to show you guys some stuff today. The first time we came, of the 17 known principles that apply to business, we covered the first 3. We're taking it to the next level. So now it's principles 4, 5, and 6. The black belt reconnaissance principle. In Jiu-Jitsu, you have to do what we call take from every touch, or you're going to get choked by someone who does. And what that means is over 50% of what I need to defeat him, I will have to gather in the spar, in the moment, in the real application. So all my life experience is great, but it's only half of what I need to defeat my opponent. This is a position right here called knee on belly, or knee on stomach. It's a very dominant position in Jiu-Jitsu. You can submit, you can control, you can hold this person down. And the objective, of course, is to eventually, the big picture objective in Jiu-Jitsu is to submit your opponent, to defeat them. A white belt in my position who does not understand this principle to its fullest might be here and, like, let's say I grab Brian's arm to try to pull it up for an arm bar. I want to take his arm. I pull, he pulls back. He rip it down. I'm pulling, he's pulling back. They're trying. It fails. Then they might try to go for a choke or try to grab his neck and put a choke. He pushes my arm off my neck. He defends. So when a white belt does this, what do they see these encounters as? They see these touches as, oh, that failed, and they start to get frustrated, and they keep failing, and eventually they lose because that's what makes them a white belt. That's what puts them at the bottom of the totem pole of Jiu-Jitsu mastery. But here's what's crazy. A black belt in the exact same position, if I grab Brian's arm and he pulls down, that's research. That's reconnaissance. And that's information that I am going to apply to defeat him in the big picture victory. So I go for the arm. I know Brian pulls down. So when he pulls down, I use this. I switch knees on his belly. And now knowing that Brian responds to the other hand or the choking hand with a push, if I step back and I spin to here, and let's say his elbow's tucked, and I go here, when he pushes it, that gives me the arm that I need for the actual catch. Does that make sense? Yeah. The same information is recycled and used against your opponent, but only if you see each of those touches as an opportunity to, thanks bro, to take from your opponent. Does that make sense? Say yes. Yes. Cool. So how does this apply to business? There's a great book by Michael Masterson called Ready, Fire, Aim. Ready, fire, aim. And I read the whole book. Amazing. Then I realized, wait, I should have just read the cover and moved on to the next book. Ready, fire, aim. What is he saying? Well, he takes the traditional business startup paradigm and flips it on its head and says, instead of preparing to the death, prepare. Train Jiu-Jitsu your whole life. Try to get everything perfect so that when you go, you have everything covered. It's never gonna happen. What he says is, no, prepare, sufficiently, but don't overdo it, and then launch. Get your business, get your product, get your service out of the gate, and get moving. Why? Doesn't matter what industry, product, or service you're in, more than half of the information you need is out there. And out there, not in a book or even necessarily a mentor. I'm talking out there in failing and trying and messing it up and learning the hard way. I had a personal experience with this. In 2009, after several years of preparation, I launched a website called GracieUniversity.com. I mentioned a little bit about it last time, and it's a huge aspect of our business. And Gracie University, the idea was create a curriculum on this website, Jiu-Jitsu curriculum from white to black belt, every move that I've ever learned from my entire family. And I said, okay, I want to take everything I've ever learned, put it on a website so that someone out in the middle of nowhere with an internet connection can watch these videos in great detail like this and then get with the partner and learn Jiu-Jitsu on their own and really learn it. When we were kind of contemplating launching this, the main reservation was, A, do we create the whole curriculum, capture the whole curriculum, and then launch perfectly? Or do we say, no, let's just launch, put what we have, and continue putting it out while the people are learning the material. Let's go together. And after reading Michael's book, we said, no, we're going to go. We launched in 2009. I just checked right now while I was sitting in my chair back there, and today, at this very moment before stepping on stage, we had 127,581 members in 196 countries. Now, do you think that there are a lot of things that I would have done differently based on what I learned in the last 7 years than what I did when I started? Of course. Of course. But would I start over, or would I have wished that I waited till now to launch? Not even for a second do I hesitate that we did the right thing in getting it out of the gate and just continuing to perfect and improve it along the way. So launch. Failing to launch so that you can begin failing is the biggest failure of all. Should I say it again? Yeah. Failure to launch so that you can begin failing is the biggest failure of all. It's the black belt reconnaissance principle, you guys. If you guys understand the importance of failing as soon as possible and you're down to start taking from every touch, say aye. That's what's up. Let's move on. Tactical trade-ups. The tactical trade-up principle. White belts give up. Black belts trade up. And this principle kind of came about based on the fact that we're all taught since we're little kids what? Never give up. Never give up. We tell our kids, it's just a general statement, never give up, never give up. And the problem is, even though that's like an optimistic advice to give someone, it's also a very damaging bit of advice if it's even remotely misinterpreted. So if Brian is down, and let's say that exact same situation happened, where I was here, I catch his knee, I break dance, I poke him in the neck, I step over, and I land right here in a nice sitting armbar situation. One of the defenses for Brian is to anchor onto his own bicep right now, like that, and kind of hold tight, because if this is the arm that I want to extend, Brian wants to hold his bicep and then kind of put this one over the top of it, because now look, it's essentially locked in. This arm is not going to be straightened, especially against a larger opponent. Right? In Jiu-Jitsu, we always assume that the opponent is bigger, heavier, stronger, more athletic, younger. Everything they could possibly have physically advantage, we assume that's the opponent. So that being said, how are you going to get this hand out? It's going to be tough, you guys. And the white belt, who was told by his mom or dad all his life, never give up. Go, Johnny, go. Right? The white belt is here, and he's like, Mom, I'm doing this for you. And he's trying. Now, what's crazy is the belief and the conviction that he should never give up is why he ends up giving up. Does that make sense? Never give up. And what happens is it's not even a choice at that point to give up. You waste so much energy and emotion and enthusiasm on a totally failed option that you have no choice but to give up. So your not giving up caused you to give up. Nothing. Okay, what do black belts do? They go, all right, it's tight. You know, it's optimistic, I'm in a good position, but it's not there. This option is not gonna give me, this technique is failing me right now. So look what happens, hand, hips, hand, boom, and you take the arm that was on top of the situation and he's done. We'll do the other side, we're already here. Boom, pulling, but what do I now know? Of Brian's arm configuration, look, this one is protected, but this one is exposed. So if I take some of that Recon that I gathered before that I was talking about, and I apply it to this tactical trade-up idea, we're ripping here, I see this arm is what? Exposed. Interesting. That's really what goes through your mind. You're like, yeah, you start celebrating. So I'm here, I'm like, man, Brian's so committed to save this arm right now. So what I do, cross tricep block, hand on the ground, hips, pivot. This knee is gonna basically come around and this knee is gonna replace that foot. Watch, hips very loose and my hips come behind his tricep. And now, while he still thinks I'm over there ripping on this, look, just hug the wrist. Now, Brian, try to grab your bicep again. He can't. This hand can't go in because I'm already owning the wrist. But only if you have the freedom in your mind and in your body to accept that the technique that you're working on is failing miserably, would you even consider trading up for a better one? Thanks, bro. So like I said, we grew up in this never give up culture, but if you think in terms of business, I don't care what industry you're in, you face circumstances where you felt what? This is done. This is a failed mission right here. This technique right here is not going to work. This business tactic, whatever we're doing right here, is failing miserably. And you could either say, nope, mom said don't give up. Come on, let's do this. And you keep going, and then you just drive yourself into the ground. So you see how never give up is a liability more than an asset if you don't interpret it correctly. You know what it boils down to? The difference between tactics and strategy. And Tai talks about this. Tactics are the specific movements, ideas, and applications of techniques based on the present or anticipated circumstances. Strategy is the bigger picture objective that encompasses and allows for contingency plans when tactics, individual tactics, fail. Black belts are quick to trade up on a tactic, but slow to give up on a strategy. Right? And if you forget the difference between tactics and strategy, it's a simple way to remember. Tactics are applied below the shoulders. Strategy is applied above the shoulders. Perfect. Let's move on. Win, win, win. Win, win, win. When it comes to relationships, I've learned kind of the hard way that if it's not win, 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 you want nothing to do with it, you guys. And the key tenet for a triple win relationship is what? Trust. You guys are all business people. When you sit across the table and you negotiate a deal that is good for everyone, you have to trust that that other person is going to do you right and there's going to be mutual benefit there. So you give a little, you give them a little more, they sacrifice a little, and you work it out where you're seeing eye to eye and it's all good. It's a win, win, win. Well, what's crazy is that there's no relationship, business, personal, or otherwise, where trust is more important than Jiu-Jitsu. Let's demonstrate. I need a volunteer who's never done Jiu-Jitsu, who always has wanted to, and is so happy to be here right now. What's your name? Jonathan? Round of applause for Jonathan, guys. He's here. Dude, how are you already barefoot, bro? That's what's up.
Came ready.
You knew?
Yeah.
Okay, take this off. Empty your pockets, please. All right. So here's the deal. Jonathan is going to spar with Brian T. City Ortega right now. You guys are happy you didn't get chosen now, right? You're like, ooh, yeah, I'll keep this hand right here and warm and safe. We're going to start from a position called the guard. Lay down, please, Brian. And I'm going to have Brian head towards them, please. And right here, perfect. A little bit slide down. Perfect. And I'm going to have, this is called the guard. When you're inside the legs, it's very common because even though Brian's on the bottom, there are things he can do. And if I'm on top, in a real fight, they'd be striking. No one's going to strike anyone today. But your only objective is just to hold Brian down and maybe pressure, get him in a headlock. I don't know. Just, I don't know, make him say uncle, say something, whatever. Now, for you, or for anybody, in the unlikely chance that you actually submit Brian, he'll tap out. And if you get caught, you tap out. If you forget, just say stop or ow, and he'll let go. Okay? Do you understand what the requirements? But tapping is the most, is the way, is the honor, yeah. You tap. Okay? Anywhere on his body, doesn't matter. Okay? We'll be watching. So get in his guard, please. Jonathan, on your knees right here. Brian's just going to pull you into the guard. All you have to do, we'll just go like 30 seconds. Have a nice little round. You just got to hold him down. Don't let him get up. Yeah, pressure. Just, I don't know, be Jonathan. Go. Here we go. Everyone, round of applause for Jonathan. Let's go. Get him, Jonathan. Go, Jonathan. Go, Brian. Here we go. Go, Brian. Here we go. 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 Tap out when you feel the pressure, Jonathan. You're going to tap or you're going to nap, bro. Okay, round of applause. There it is. That's dope. Now, did you guys recognize that technique? That's called the triangle choke. Okay, so Brian applies, lay back down. Let's just show him real quick.
So pretty much when he's trying to hold me down, this is exactly what I want. Because everyone's thinking, you're on the bottom, you're losing. And that's what I want because now he's pretty much, he's confident right now.
Right.
That's what I want. And then when you were on top, you're holding me down, and I was pushing you to see what you were going to do. And when I pushed you, what'd you do? You pushed me back. I said, oh, perfect.
I got him.
So then I moved your arm to see what you were going to do. And then you ripped it back.
Boom.
So I said, okay.
Reconnaissance.
I got this. So then I did it again. You pulled back, pull your arm back. Then I just shot my leg over. And now I got the triangle. And then from here, it was the beginning of the end.
Boom.
And then I
Look,
locked it up
locks
all the way.
And that's when we talk about triangle, guys, just to be clear. Stay there, stay there. We talk about triangle. It's 2 thighs and a shin. Make a triangle around his neck, applying pressure on the veins and the arteries, affecting the blood pressure. And with Brian, we're squeezing full force. He wasn't tapping, so Brian was a little not sure what to do. But full force, about 6 seconds, and you're unconscious.
I didn't
not
want
dead.
anyone
We'll wake you
sleeping
back
today,
up,
bro.
but you're unconscious for a good period of time, and then you come back to life.
I would have woken up after the conference. I would be like,
where's Ty? You did good, bro. So now here's what's interesting. When we talk about win-win-win, and we talk about trust, you can have a kneel right here. When we talk about trust and the win-win-win engagement, imagine if Brian was not trustworthy enough to let go of the choke when he tapped. Right? And if you just lay on your back, Brian, just let me have the microphone here. You can just catch a few different joints, like boom. So the arm lock, he catches this. Brian has to not only not break it once he taps, he has to catch it and hold it conservatively so that John even has a chance to tap. So there's so much trust that has to happen in a chokehold or in a joint lock. I mean, it's unprecedented, right? And the degree of trust is what determines the intensity that Brian and I can spar at. Does that make sense? When we go crazy, and the belief that if Brian wraps my neck, I know for sure that even if I get close to passing out, as soon as I tap or stop resisting, he's gonna let go. And that conviction is what allows us to go so hard. And going so hard in the spar allows what? Progress. So you see now, trust is the most important ingredient in a mutually beneficial win-win-win progressive relationship, whether it's business or jiu-jitsu. It's the only way to grow is if there is trust. Jiu-Jitsu is just one great example. You can let him go. What are you doing? Come on, man. Tapped a long time ago. Round of applause. Thank you, Jonathan. We appreciate it, brother. Much respect. Thank you. What's crazy is that when my father and my uncles first came to America in the 1980s with Jiu-Jitsu, it's from Brazil. My grandfather created this in Brazil with his brother Carlos. They evolved it. My dad was born in Brazil, came to America 26 years old, late 70s, early 80s, and got here, and everyone was in Bruce Lee mode, punches and kicks and whatever was prettiest, and we worked on TV, that's what people wanted to learn. And we came here with these techniques that are like more anaconda-like, submissions and grappling and close combat. So the traditional martial artists, the karates, the kung fu, the taekwondos at the time, were very like, oh, we don't need that, this and that, and there was very much a sense of, that stuff doesn't work on us. One kick in your face and you're gonna drop like a sack of potatoes, so we don't need to learn that. So there was this culture of resistance to what was happening. So when my dad got here, there was no choice but to engage in what we call Gracie challenge matches, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu challenge matches, with the representatives of these other arts. And you guys, that engagement was the win-lose on the highest level. There was no victory for Jiu-Jitsu unless someone else got choked out badly and proved Jiu-Jitsu superiority in that engagement. Because this is all happening when I'm 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. So when I became of age to run the business, the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Academy that we now operate, I'm like, all right, I didn't go to college. And even though I created, I created this Gracie University online website, which I sometimes, reflect on to make myself feel better about not going to college, which is cool. But either way, I didn't go to college. So everything I had to learn through life and through experience and through trial and error and through the example of my ancestors, because they just did the best they could with what they had. So business-wise, as we started growing and I started making relationships, and I'm like, how am I going to deal with this? I don't have a business degree, so I started applying the win-lose strategy that worked in the martial arts movement. I started applying that in business. And guess what happened? Failed. Every time. You try to impose and create a deal that's not beneficial for both parties or all three parties, terrible. And what's crazy is sometimes it failed in 2 weeks, sometimes it never got off the ground, and other times it failed in 2 or 3 years. And after that extended period of time, the resentment builds up and ultimately you lose. Even if you're the win out of the lose in the beginning, it ultimately becomes lose-lose for everyone involved. But then what happened? Started hanging around with guys like Tai, started hanging around with other successful people many years ago. I've only known Tai for about a year. I've been training with him at his house. But I started hanging out with very successful people in totally different fields, from U.S. Army Special Forces that I would teach to businessmen and women and all you could imagine, actors and actresses. Vince Vaughn is our most recent student, signed up 2 weeks ago at the academy, is now doing private classes every week. So people wanted to learn jiu-jitsu. So I had access to a lot of very elite people of society and get to feel and hang out with them. And what did I notice? These highly successful people, when you get in the room and you just talk to them, They're always win-win, pleasant to deal with. The most successful people that I've ever dealt with are always pleasant people. And then I started saying, man, were they successful and then because they had so much money they didn't know what to do with, then they adopted the be nice and be pleasant and the win-win mindset, win-win-win with people? Or did they have that and then reach it? I wondered for a little while, but I have no doubts now that they had it first, and that's the reason they're successful. The win-win-win is the only way. Now, what's crazy is today, for the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Academy business, a huge branch of it is the licensing of our jiu-jitsu programs to other people around the world who have martial arts schools. We create these specific programs, we market them, people come get certified to teach them, they go to their own locations in their own territories, and then they teach Gracie Jiu-Jitsu under our guidance. And what's crazy is the population, over half of our licensees are of the traditional martial arts background, taekwondo, karate, kung fu, hapkido. The same exact pool of people that my dad and my uncles were viciously choking out in the 1980s are now our partners. And it's very much win-win-win. Couldn't be better. Now, some of you are wondering, what's the third win for? Because I know win-win. Where is this third one coming in, or is he just saying it incorrectly? I'm not. Because any true win-win partnership, engagement, or connection always benefits some third party as much as it does the two who are engaged to begin with. In the situation of the business that I'm involved in, we win because our jiu-jitsu is perpetuated from headquarters, Torrance, California, all over the world, which we would never be able to do by ourselves. The licensees win because they get to add Gracie Jiu-Jitsu to their course offering, so now they teach karate and Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And the students in those territories who've all wanted to learn since UFC 1, our jiu-jitsu, now have access to it. On the business front, there's always a third party that wins if it's a true win-win. On the personal level, if you're married and you have a win-win with your husband or wife, the kids win the most. And if you have a win-lose, the kids lose the most. Remember those things. Take from every touch. On the mat, it's a grip. In life, it's a failed encounter. Okay? And commit to trading up instead of giving up. Okay? And last but not least, if it's not win-win-win, don't touch it. Much respect. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate you guys having us. Thank you.